Welcome to the web tutorial, Adding a Dementia Screen to the PSID. To begin, let's go over what you can expect to learn. We'll begin with an overview of measuring dementia in the PSID, followed by an explanation of the measure, 8-item interview to differentiate aging and dementia, or AD8. We will continue with an explanation of how this measure has been used over time, and close with some guidelines and resources for how to use the AD8 data. Let's start with an overview of measuring dementia in the PSID. Dementia is a group of conditions that share a common underlying symptom, a decline in memory or thinking that interferes with the ability to perform everyday activities. This group of conditions is sometimes referred to as Alzheimer's disease and related dementias. An explicit goal of the PSID in 2017 was to add a brief measure that could be administered by telephone to identify older adults at risk for developing Alzheimer's disease and related dementias. As the world's longest-running national household panel study, the PSID is uniquely positioned to study factors over the life course that can influence late-life outcomes. With the addition of a dementia screen, analysts can study early and mid-life influences on the existence and onset of mild or more severe forms of dementia. And because of its unique family design, researchers can study how families support older family members with memory-related problems. Since only one person per family unit is interviewed in the PSID, the dementia measure has to be valid as both an informant and self-reported instrument. Because of its brevity and strong predictive power in clinical samples, the 8-item interview to differentiate aging and dementia, or AD8, was selected for inclusion in the 2017 PSID survey instrument. The AD8 Dementia Screen is a brief screening instrument designed to differentiate individuals with normative cognitive function from those with mild or more severe forms of dementia. The instrument is copyrighted by Washington University in St. Louis, Missouri. This section will provide a background on the AD8, a review of implementation procedures in the PSID, and preliminary estimates of the percentage of the older population screening in for dementia. The AD8 Dementia Screen was originally designed as a paper and pencil questionnaire for use in clinical settings with informants. It was proposed as a first step, or screen, in the diagnostic process for identifying early signs of dementia, irrespective of etiology. Informants were asked to report changes in 8 activities reflecting problems with memory, orientation to time, judgment, and ability to engage in daily functional activities. Each row of the form had a different problem listed, and columns were labeled yes, a change, no, no change, as well as not applicable and don't know. Clinicians were instructed that yes, a change, indicates that there has been a change in the last several years caused by cognitive, that is, a thinking or memory, problem. A cutoff of 2 or more endorsed items on the instrument was recommended to identify individuals with possible dementia in need of further evaluation. Using these criteria, the area under the Receiver Operating Characteristic, ROC curve, in the initial validation study was 0.834. In this study, sensitivity, the probability that a positive result, here a score of 2 or higher, is a true positive, that is, among those diagnosed with mild or moderate dementia, was 74%. And specificity, the probability that a negative result, here a score of less than 2, is a true negative, that is, that among those found not to have mild or moderate dementia, was 86%. The instrument was also validated for use as a self-report measure. In this validation study, the authors found that a standard informant-based AD8 scores using the 2+ cutoff had a sensitivity and specificity of 84% and 93%, respectively, whereas the self-reported AD8 scores had 62% and 73%. The instructions for the self-reported AD8 indicate that self-respondents should not be asked to attribute changes to cognitive problems. The justification for this approach is that sometimes individuals with cognitive impairment may not recognize their symptoms as related to memory, but instead attribute them to illness or aging. PSID adapted the AD8 for administration over the telephone. A uniform question stem was adopted. In the last few years, have you, has the target person, experienced a change in? Informants, but not self-respondents, were also read the attribution because of a thinking or memory problem. Each of the 8 individual items was phrased in a manner consistent with the original AD8 item. A few items were simplified, either to facilitate administration by phone or for use with the uniform stem. In 2017, the AD8 items were asked to over 2,200 individuals ages 65 and older living in PSID family units. The target population included age-eligible individuals who lived in the same household as other family members, in an institutional setting, or who moved in or out of the family in the last 2 years. Because only one person per family unit serves as the respondent, AD8 responses are a mix of self and proxy responses. Most often, the reference person, the individual financially responsible for the family and for whom the relationship of all other people in the family is collected, or the spouse or partner will serve as the respondent. In some instances, when neither person is able to respond, another family member may respond. A respondent with multiple age-eligible family members will be asked to answer the AD8 items about each age-eligible individual. When multiple age-eligible persons are present within a family unit, the administration order is to ask first about the reference person, then about the spouse or partner if present, and then about any other family members if present. Next, we'll talk about how to use these data. The AD8 items are located on the family and individual level files. First, the AD8 items for the reference person and spouse partner are located on the family file, while the AD8 items and generated variables for all eligible individuals, reference persons, spouse partners, and other family unit members, are located on the individual file. The original AD8 validation study recommends a cutoff of 2 or more be used. This cutoff maximizes specificity and sensitivity in discriminating those with normal cognitive function from those with mild or more severe forms of dementia. A generated variable, ER34590, which indicates whether 2 or more problems were endorsed, is included on the public cross-year individual file along with the individual items. The total eligible sample for the 2017 PSID AD8 dementia screen consisted of over 2,200 individuals. Out of the eligible sample, the unweighted percent of eligible individuals who endorsed 2 or more items was 21.1%. Of eligible family units, 35.7% had at least one individual who endorsed 2 or more items, while 30.9% of eligible clans had at least one individual who endorsed 2 or more items. Using 2017 individual cross-sectional weights, the overall estimate of the older population with mild or more severe forms of dementia was 21.3%. Age-specific estimates range from 13.4% for 65 to 69-year-olds to 43.6% for those ages 85 and older. The overall estimates are in range with estimates from national surveys that draw upon more detailed measurements of dementia, which range from 14.8% to 29.6%. A technical paper available on the PSID website investigated the reliability and validity of the AD8 in the PSID. The analysis suggests that the AD8 offers a reliable and valid measure to distinguish in the PSID individuals with possible dementia from those with normal cognitive functioning in this long-running national household panel study. This tutorial drew upon information from the following articles. This web tutorial was produced by Nora Insalera and Vicki Friedman with funding from the National Institute on Aging. This ends the web tutorial on adding a dementia screen to the PSID. Comments and questions may be sent to psidhelp@umich.edu.